Hello everyone. Today we are going to do the tale of Custard the Dragon written by Ogden Nash of class 10th English first flight. This poem is a humorous poem. In it the poet tries to ridicule persons who put up faces of being very brave and courageous, but in times of crisis prove big cowards. On the other hand, those who are unassuming and make no proud professions prove their worth when the occasion demands it. Let us now begin the explanation of the poem stanza-wise. Stanza 1. Belinda lived in a little white house with a little black kitten and a little grey mouse and a little yellow dog and a little red wagon and Riolio Trulio little pet dragon. A girl named Belinda lived in a little white house. She had some pet animals. They included a little black kitten, a little grey mouse, a little yellow dog and also a little dragon. She had a little red wagon also. Wagon is a vehicle with 4 wheels. Stanza 2. Now, the name of the little black kitten was Ink, and the little grey mouse she called him Blink, and the little yellow dog was sharp as mustard, but the dragon was a coward and she called him Custard. Belinda had named the little black kitten Ink, the little grey mouse was called Blink, the little yellow dog was called Mustard, the little dragon was thought to be a coward, so the girl had given him the name of Custard. Moving on to next stanza, stanza 3. Custard the dragon had big sharp teeth and spikes on top of him and scales underneath, mouth like a fireplace, chimney for a nose, and Riolio Trulio daggers on his toes. Custard the dragon had big sharp teeth. He had spikes on his head and scales on his chest. His mouth was like a fireplace. The nose looked like a chimney breathing out smoke, and there were really daggers on his toes. Stanza 4. Belinda was as brave as a barrel full of bears, and Ink and Blink chased lions down the stairs. Mustard was as brave as a tiger in a rage, but Custard cried for a nice safe cage. Belinda looked like a barrel full of bears. Here the poet creates a humorous picture of the girl who with her fat body and bear-skin garments looked like a barrel full of bears. Belinda claimed herself to be brave. Ink and Blink would boast that they could chase away lions down the stairs. Mustard would say that he was as brave as an angry tiger, but Custard never made any claims. He would simply ask his mistress for a nice safe cage. Stanza 5. Belinda tickled him. She tickled him unmerciful. Ink, Blink and Mustard, they rudely called him Percival. They all sat laughing in the little red wagon at the Riolio Trulio cowardly dragon. Belinda always teased poor Custard in an unmerciful manner. Ink, Blink and Mustard would rudely call him Percival. They meant to say that Custard, like Percival, though grown up in age, was yet childish in his habit. They were all sitting in the little red wagon and laughing at the dragon, who they thought was cowardly. Stanza 6. Belinda giggled till she shook the house, and Blink said weak, which is giggling for a mouse. Ink and Mustard rudely asked his age when Custard cried for a nice safe cage. Belinda laughed so much that the whole house seemed to be shaking. The mouse, Blink, also giggled in his own way. Poor Custard only cried for a nice safe cage. At this, Ink and Mustard asked him rudely what his age was. They meant to say that though the dragon was quite grown up, he was behaving in a cowardly and childish manner. Stanza 7. Suddenly, they heard a nasty sound, and Mustard growled, and they all looked around. Meow, cried Ink, and ooh, cried Belinda, for there was a pirate climbing in the window. Belinda, Ink, Blink and Mustard suddenly heard an unpleasant sound. On hearing it, Mustard growled and looked all around. Ink and Belinda also cried out because they had seen a robber climbing in through the window. Stanza 8. Pistol in his left hand, pistol in his right, and he held in his teeth a cutlass bright. His beard was black and one leg was wood. It was clear that the pirate meant no good. This stanza means he had a pistol in his left hand and another in his right hand. He was holding a little sword in his teeth. his beard was black, and his one leg was made of wood. It was clear that the pirate didn't mean anything good. He had come there with some wicked purpose. Stanza 9. Belinda paled, and she cried, "Help, help!" But Mustard fled with a terrified yelp. Ink trickled down to the bottom of the household, and little Mouse Blink strategically mouseholed. On seeing the robber, Belinda went pale with fear. Mustard gave a cry of fear and ran away. Ink quietly slipped down under the household goods. The little Mouse Blink thought it best to hide himself in his hole. Stanza 10. But up jumped Custard, snorting like an engine, clashed his tail like irons in a dungeon. With a clatter and a clank and a jangling squirm, he went at the pirate like a robin at a worm. But Custard jumped up at once. He was snorting like an engine. He struck his tail angrily here and there. It made sounds like the iron chains of prisoners in a dungeon. As he twisted his tail, it made clattering, clanking, and jangling sounds. He flew at the robber as does a robin at a worm. Stanza 11. The pirate gaped at Belinda's dragon and gulped some grog from his pocket flagon. He fired 2 bullets, but they didn't hit, and Custard gobbled him every bit. The robber could do nothing but gape at Belinda's dragon. He took out a big bottle of wine from his pocket and gulped some of it. Then he fired 2 bullets from his pistols, but they didn't hit the dragon. Custard caught hold of the robber and greedily ate every bit of him. Next stanza, Belinda embraced him. Mustard licked him. No one mourned for his pirate victim. Ink and Blink in glee did gyrate around the dragon that ate the pirate. After the pirate had been killed, Belinda hugged Custard lovingly, and Mustard licked him. No one mourned for the pirate who had fallen a victim to the dragon. In their joy, Ink and Blink started dancing around the dragon that had killed the pirate. But presently up spoke little dog Mustard. "I'd have been twice as brave if I hadn't been flustered." And up spoke Ink, and up spoke Blink, "We'd have been 3 times as brave, we think." And Custard said, "I quite agree that everybody is braver than me." But then soon the little dog Mustard spoke up. He said that if he had not been confused, he would have been twice as brave as Custard. Ink and Blink also did the same thing. They said that they could have been thrice as brave as Custard if they had not felt confused. On hearing Ink, Blink, and Mustard brag about their bravery, Custard maintained his usual calm. He simply said that he quite agreed everybody was braver than him. Stanza 14. Belinda still lives in a little white house with a little black kitten and a little grey mouse and a little yellow dog and a little red wagon and a really truly little pet dragon. This stanza is simply a repetition of the first stanza, which shows that habits die hard. In spite of their encounter with the pirate, nobody has learnt any lesson. Things are even now as they had always been. Belinda still lives in her little white house. She lives with her little black kitten, her little grey mouse, her little yellow dog, her little red wagon, and her little pet dragon. Last stanza, that is stanza 15. Belinda is as brave as a barrel full of bears, and Ink and Blink chase lions down the stairs. Mustard is as brave as a tiger in a rage, but Custard keeps crying for a nice safe cage. This last stanza is a repetition of the fourth stanza, which shows that she still wears her bearskin garments and shows herself to be very brave. Ink and Blink still claim that they can chase away lions down the stairs. Mustard claims that he's as brave as a tiger in a rage, and nobody cares for the poor Custard even now. He still keeps crying for a nice safe cage. Let's have a look at the literary devices of this poem. Rhyme scheme in the poem is AABB. Alliteration is the repetition of words with the consonant sounds. For example, Belinda lived in a little white house. Next is, Belinda was as brave as a barrel full of bears, and he held in his teeth a cutlass bright. With a clatter and a clank, He gulped some grog from his pocket flagon. The letters marked in blue are consonant sounds, hence it is alliteration. Next poetic device is simile. It makes a comparison showing similarities between two things using the words like and as. And the little yellow dog was sharp as mustard. Here the poet compares Belinda's dog with mustard because of its sharpness, as mustard seeds have sharp and pungent taste. Next simile is mouth like a fireplace. Here the mouth of Custard the dragon is compared to a furnace. Next simile is Mustard was as brave as a tiger in a rage. Here the bravery of Mustard the dog is compared to the bravery or ferociousness of a tiger in anger. Next simile is clashed his tail like irons in a dungeon. Here the tail of the dragon is compared to the chains in prison. Next literary device is metaphor. It is used to make a comparison between two things that aren't alike but do have something in common. Chimney for a nose. Here the poet compares the dragon's nose with the chimney because it jutted off out sharply like a chimney. No word of comparison like or as has been used here. And Riolio Trulio daggers on his toes. Here the poet compares the sharp nails on the toes of the dragon to the daggers without using like or as. Next poetic device is repetition. Poets often repeat single words, phrases, lines, and sometimes even whole stanzas as intervals to create a musical effect. The word little has been used 6 times in a stanza 1, 3 times in stanza 2, and 6 times in stanza 13 to emphasize that the White House of Belinda and all its inmates were small in size. It also makes the lines musical and lyrical. Belinda tickled him, she tickled him unmerciful. Here the repetition of tickle shows the repeated action of tickling. Suddenly, they heard a nasty sound. The word suddenly has been repeated to emphasize that the sound heard by everyone was sudden and unexpected. The self-coined words Riolio and Trulio have also been repeated 4 times in the poem. Allusion means an indirect reference or suggestion. It may be regarding a well-known person, place, thing, or an idea of historical, mythological, cultural, literary, or political significance. For example, Ink, Blink, and Mustard, they rudely called him Percival. Here is a reference to the legendary knight Percival, one of the knights of Knight Arthur, who was renowned for his strength and fighting prowess. The poet alludes to Percival to mock at the cowardly demand of the dragon for a nice safe cage. The contrast makes the poem humorous. Next figure of speech used is onomatopoeia, means words imitate the sound or sounds they describe. For example, and Blink said weak. Here the poet uses the word weak to describe the sound that mouse makes while giggling. Next example is meow, cried Ink. Meow gives the sense of mewing of a cat. Next is with a clatter and a clank and a jangling squirm. The words clatter, clang and jangling give impression of a metallic object hitting the floor or another object. Thank you for watching. Kindly refer to important questions of this poem in my next video.